Hello there everyone and welcome to the Bountiful Bouquet stamp layering video. So to start with, I am going to be taking the huge outline that we have in the stamp set and I'm just going to be stamping this onto some white cardstock using some of the obsidian ink from Altenew. So once that's done, I'm going to take the base layer for this open flower that we have at the top here, and this is just going to fit directly within the outline of that open flower. For this layer, I will be using the pink pearl ink to pop that into place, and I'm lining up that little centerpiece first, and then just the outline of the image for the flower. So once I have that into place, I can then take the second layer. Again, I'm lining up that centerpiece first, and I'm just kind of twisting everything around so it's then within the outline. And you can see there are two really distinctive points where it does kind of line up on the edge of the stamped area as before. So for this layer here, I will be using the Coral Bliss ink to add in that darker shading to the petals, and it's just starting to look very pretty already. So once that's done, I'm then going to go in with the third layer. Now this is going to add in the really dark points of the little flower here. Again, I'm lining up that centerpiece first and then the darker areas at the kind of the bases of the petals. For this layer, I will be using the Heartbeat ink to add in those darker points. I'm then going to take the little flower center, and that's just going to stamp directly within the center of that flower. For the first layer, I am using the chamomile ink, and then for the second layer, I'm going to be taking the Snapdragon. And then finally, for the third layer of the flower center, I will be using the marigold ink. I'm then going to move on to the rose image that we have at the bottom here. So for the base layer, I'm going to be using the same color as I did for the other flower. So that is the pink pearl ink. And this is just going to stamp directly within the outline that we have of that beautiful rose that we have off to the left-hand side here. So I'm just going to stamp that one down. Once that's done, I'm then going to move on to the second layer. Again, this one is just going to fit within the outlines. Most of the outline does kind of fit within the edges of this one here. So for this layer, I will be using the Coral Bliss, just as like I did with the other flower. So I'm just going to pop that into place and then stamp that one down there. For the third layer, I am going to pop this into place, and this is going to line up along most of the edges. The tops and the top edge is the ones that I've lined up this time. And for this one, I will be using the Heartbeat ink to add these darker kind of details in this way. And I'm just going to pop that back into place and then press that down, just making sure that the ink is nicely transferred from the stamp to the cardstock below. So once I have that nicely stamped, I can then move on to the fourth layer of this rose. And this is going to add in those darker kind of details and depth to this beautiful rose image that we have here. For this one, I will be using the Vineyard Berry ink, a really beautiful dark red color there. So I'm just going to stamp that into place. So once I have the flowers done, I'm then going to move on to the leaves. So I'm going to stamp this leaf cluster that's at the top left here. For the base of this, I will be using the Firefly ink, and that's just going to stamp directly into those three leaves right there. I'm then going to take the second layer. Now this is going to stamp 4 leaves, so this is going to stamp a darker leaf at the bottom of them. For this layer, I will be using the beautiful grass field ink for this one, and this is just going to line up within the outlines of those leaves that we have up there. So once that has been stamped, I can then move on to the third layer, and this is just going to add in the darker shadows. And I'm just going to line up the 2 bottom leaves along the edges for this one. And for this layer, I will be using the Shadow Creek ink to add in those really dark details to those leaves. Next up, I'm going to move on to the little leaf cluster that we have just above that open flower at the top. So for the base layer of this one, I will be using the Grass Field ink for that one. And then the second layer, I'm going to pop that into place. And for this layer here, I will be using the Shadow Creek, and that's going to give us a darker looking leaf cluster than the one that we did before. So then once that one has been done, I'm going to move to this one here, which is the largest of the leaf clusters. And for the base layer here, I will be using that Firefly ink again. So this is going to just stamp directly into the outlines that we have of all those beautiful leaves just on the right bottom hand side here. So once that one is in place, I can then grab the second layer for these leaves, and this is just going to line up around the edges and the tips of the little leaves that we have. For this layer, I will be using the Grass Field ink, a really bold and vibrant green there, and then pop that one into place. Once that's done, I can grab the third layer, and this is just going to add in some really dark points along the edges of the leaves just to add really great depth and interest to the image. For this layer here, I will be using the Shadow Creek ink, so I'm just going to ink that up and then pop that back into place on that little leaf cluster that we have. Now I'm just going to move on to the final leaf cluster that we have just on this little rose behind the rose. So for the base layer, I will be going with the Firefly ink to add the base layer in there. I'm then going to take the second layer. This is going to line up along the tips of the petals. For this one, I am going to be using the Grass Field ink to add that layer in, pop that into place, and then stamp that down. I'm then going to grab the third layer, and this is just going to add in some really great details to those little leaves that we have, and I'll be using the Shadow Creek ink for that. And here is all of the layering complete. We really do hope this video helps. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye.